Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding. Motor. And today I'm going to talk to you about a very profound subject. But first I'm just going to enter a clip from my Natural Gallant Bodybuilding Patreon podcast, available to the Patreon supporters of second level, which is $5 per month and more. So if you're interested in listening to a podcast that you can download on your phone, I have it right there on Patreon. So here's a snippet. So you cannot listen to these guys when it comes down to specifics about absolutes, like this is definitely going to work or not, okay? So you can only take what they say with a grain of salt, like I do, because there's some things they're talking about that are true, but not everything, okay? Because their environment that they're training in, the petri dish that they're playing in, the little ecosystem is totally different, you know? Your petri dish has like a little bit of algae, you know, a few leaves, maybe some, you know, fairies from the forest or something, and they've got like trolls and monsters and shit and stuff from Mordor, you know what I mean, walking around. And they're like, oh, this is how you deal with this Mordor, you know, thing or whatever, this troll or whatever. You're like, I don't see any trolls in my petri dish. Like, what the hell? I don't have any trolls, you know? So they're dealing with a totally different environment. So yeah, that's a clip from the podcast. If you're interested in listening to more of the podcast stuff, the link is in the description to go to my Patreon channel. I appreciate the support. It helps me give you guys free information on an ongoing basis. And yeah, some of those podcasts are about 30 minutes to an hour long. So lots of stuff in there. I'm going to be interviewing people at some point and bringing in some guests and stuff, possibly even my brother. Who knows if I can convince him. If he doesn't have to be on camera, then maybe he'll sit there and talk to us a little bit. So anyway, it should be some interesting stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you check out my Patreon at Natural Gallant Bodybuilding on patreon.com. Mountain. So the title of this video probably brought you here. And no, it is not a clickbait title. This is a very profound discovery that I made, a long time ago, but it's becoming more and more and more obvious to me as I go along this bodybuilding journey. And one thing that a lot of people are confused by is the middle ground between exercising or performing some sort of workout routine and the results, right? All they see is the measurable results. But the journey in between and the experiences in between that are required in order to achieve the results are a mystery. So one could argue that if you were aware of what experiences you need to have in order to achieve set results, you could not only create your own workout program, but also be on the fly and change as you go, because your awareness would be constantly telling you what should happen next. Which is why I always talk about using your awareness in your bodybuilding. But I'm going to take this one step further of what to be aware of. And this is something that I can tell you, but it has to be actually discovered on your own. All I can do is plant the seed, and that's what I'm doing right now. And that is purifying your awareness through becoming conscious of the silence in the body itself. Now, this is very profound stuff, so I don't expect you to get it right away. Don't pressure yourself too much here, but in order for you to differentiate between one noisy experience, such as this type of pain, and then another octave of pain, and then this type of pain, right? You need to have a stable set point from which to perceive. And if you don't know what the silence or foundational experience in the body is, if you don't know how to experience from that, a lot of the other experiences just become a soup of a bunch of stuff mixed together. Imagine if you had 10 different songs playing in your ear, and then you had to differentiate between musical notes of a violin playing in the distance. It would be very difficult, right? Because there's too much noise. You're not starting from a pure place of awareness. So as you become aware of you could say, a meditative set point in the physical body, you then become a student of experiences of many different octaves. And you start to differentiate between one experience and another, instead of it all being a kaleidoscope of confusing stuff going on, right? Which is where we always start. A lot of times you start in this journey and you just go through the motions, and then surprising stuff happens, right? And sometimes surprisingly bad stuff happens, like something snaps, or chronic inflammation or a real bad pain. You're like, okay, how'd that happen? Right? You don't even know, because you're not aware of the experiences that led to such result. So one must begin with purifying the awareness. Now, where do you start with this? Well, a lot of people would say you start with working out and conducting experiments that way, but I would say working out is only half the battle. The other variable in this that's very important is purifying your mental awareness, emotional awareness, and therefore being able to truly perceive physical awareness. Right? I'm not getting into religion or nothing like that. This is not philosophy. This is just, if you have 10 conversations going on at once in your head, you know that it can distract you from being aware when your foot is on fire, right? It's just logic. So as you learn techniques to purify your mind and to hold the center of the emotional shitstorm that goes on in all of us in the day-to-day stresses of life, you start to differentiate that which is a transitory experience and that which is the experience that's always here. It's like the center of the storm at all times. Once that center of the storm is realized, then one can differentiate between the many different experiences that come and go. And even the ones to listen to and the ones to, they're not so important. This is the growth of wisdom. This is the true benefit of bodybuilding if it's used in a proper way instead of constantly looking outwards towards results or king, right? So how do you start purifying your awareness? That's what people get stuck on. You can't think yourself to it, or at least most people can't. The best way to do it is to start a meditation practice at some point. Whether you do it, a few minutes at night, 10, 20 minutes before you go to bed at night, or whether you do it in the morning, first thing when you get up. But practice drilling deep into the center experience of all experiences. Meditation can work really well for this. Breathing techniques such as pranayama that we know in yoga, very good for this. And for some people, this might be too advanced of a technique and they need to learn concentration first. So you would just take a candle or a picture or a tree and you just concentrate on the tree, concentrate on what is before you, and then when you notice your mind starts to wander, you just come right back to the concentration on the tree again and hold no thought, just being 100% with that thing that is before you. Once a certain level of mastery of concentration is established, then meditation becomes possible, where you just don't follow every single thought that moves in different directions. But in the end, it's nothing more than just being here so honestly that you start to become aware of what is a transitory experience and what is the experience that never changes. Right? So you're learning what your platform is from which to perceive. So as perception becomes more and more honed, you then become better able to observe the physical reality of cause and effect that is happening in your bodybuilding training. So I have another channel on, it's like satsang basically. It's on meditation, on mantra, like different techniques to learn this. But in the end, this is a very powerful, powerful practice in order for you to become super aware of what is right for your body and what may be a dogma that you need to discard that doesn't work, that only works for some but doesn't work for you in this particular circumstance. Purifying the awareness is key. So yeah, you find that center of the storm in the mind, the emotions, and then you can find it in the body. And from there, a lot of interesting stuff can happen. So yeah, sorry for this profound, non-comical video, but I thought this was something that I need to let you guys know about so that way you know where I'm coming from when I speak from experience and when I try to help you grow in your own experiences of your own individual situation. So yeah, I hope this helps you out in your natural bodybuilding journey. Thanks a lot for supporting me on Patreon. I do have a podcast on there where I will go deeper into this sort of thing. And thanks a lot for all the support from the Patreon supporters. And if you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com. Mountain. Natural Gallant.